present a little bit a small project we did. I think it was less than 5 days, just to show you how we kind of gotten used to using Gravity Sketch on our process of designing. Next page, Fernando. A little bit background about our team. Our studio in Sao Paulo, Brazil, we started back in 2018. And this team here is actually very new and fresh. We have Fernando, as you know, who's going to present as well. He's our design specialist, like a project lead designer. We have Alini Nakagawa, a lot of experience, and she joined us recently as well. She's our senior color designer. We have Gabriel, who is our visualization designer, also quite young and just joined our team. And we have João, who is going to join us here at NDLA in about a week or so. We were welcoming him. He will be our senior studio designer. And we have an intern, Nina. She's our color materials designer intern who's really providing a lot of great ideas for our projects. Next, Fernando. So basically, our philosophy at NDLA is we believe in the power of collaboration, disruption, and innovation. By combining our Japanese DNA and other elements, we have the ability to transform and evolve design to the next level. So collaboration, definitely important, disruption in a positive way, and innovation, we feel these three pillars are helping us to really branch out beyond the cars and delivering design services in product, branding, visualization, interior design as well. We just finished designing our new office here in Sao Paulo. It's going to look fantastic. We'll be the beacon of the region. And here you can see some side projects that we do in the studio. This was based on a kind of micromobility phase that we had here in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And we felt it would be a great opportunity to take some of our electric battery technology and apply it into this micromobility solution where you can exchange the batteries between your bike, your I think you call it the kickboard, your unicycle mobility, and also your training cycle in your house to share the same battery unit. So we had this idea trying to create a ecosystem that really evolves on electricity and sustainability. Next. So I'm going to hand it over to Fernando to talk about this small project we did using Gravity Sketch. And I think why we really believe in this product is because during the pandemic situation in 2020, my team and I were separated because of the quarantine. So we had to use the current communication tools to communicate our meetings together, but it lacked that kind of, I would say, intrinsic connection that we have when we're working together in the studio. And so when a few months ago, Gravity Sketch had reached out to us to try out the software, I was blown away and my team was blown away because the software allows you to simulate that intrinsic connection you have while working in the studio, meaning that we can be in this metaverse world, use Gravity Sketch to do our designs and do evaluation real time and making the modification in real time, which we don't have in, say, the current communication platforms we use to do meetings. Those are lacking that intrinsic value of being connected. So Gravity Sketch definitely allowed us to be able to do this particular small project and have fun at the same time, really assimilating the real world situation working in the studio. So I'll leave it up to you, Fernando, to talk about this project that we did like within, I would say, less than 3 days, for around 3 to 5 days, I would say, yeah. You're on mute, Fernando, so you can go off mute.
Okay, so as John was saying, it was really amazing how efficient Gravity Sketch can be. And what we thought about this project is like, okay, let's do a project the way we do it, and then put Gravity Sketch in the process. So basically, we started with the rough sketches, and then bring it to Gravity Sketch, and from that, you can see how fast and easy we can create lines and shapes from like 1 day, 2 days, and at the same time collaborate in the same room. So the sketches we do like on paper, we can really represent that three-dimensionally in Gravity Sketch, and that's helped so much as to understand the product and understand the volume itself. And of course, we can bring like reference from architecture and the even the sketches we can bring to the metaverse, right? So from that, we can take that model, and already like in a couple of hours we can see some renderings and brush it out and do themes and design like headlamps and proposals. So it's amazing how fast and how efficient it can be. And the result, it's really cool because the model came straight from Gravity Sketch. uh, so you can see some image that we did, exploring forms. Basically, that was the idea for this project. Bring some reference from architecture or even art. And I thought about some boats, yacht design, and then bring to exploring shapes. Right. From that, we can even start to create CMF studies, understand materials, colors, all of that from the same model. And after this less than a week, I think that we spent in this project, it was really like clear uh, how efficient it can be and helpful for us as a team, especially.
In the design process, whether it's car, product, or architecture, every designer starts with a sketch. And with the sketch, while sketching the ideas out, we sometimes look at architecture, product, fashion, whatever that can inspire us in our design. And since this is a form study, to really look at new shapes and new forms freely, we were really looking at architecture because we felt that architecture is in some cases quite free in developing forms and shapes that reflects some of the geometry that we're studying. So here you see some original black and white sketches that Fernando did analog with pen and paper. I think as designers, we still do that as an intuitive way of doing our design process is sketching paper and pen. And then what he did is afterwards take those ideas, put it into the metaverse where he created kind of like a sketch wall in the metaverse in this room, placed some of the inspiration images, and then looked at his sketches and really start creating the model in Gravity Sketch. And then at the same time, we were invited for a kind of a sketch presentation to do some feedback. And it was an amazing experience because, like I was explaining before, during the pandemic situation, my team and I were separated because of the quarantine, and we didn't see each other for a year, and we had to use the current platforms at the time to communicate our projects together, to communicate our presentation. But in fact, it was very 2D, and it was almost not really like I was saying, this intrinsic connection you have when you're working in the studio with a team. So a few months ago, Gravity Sketch had reached out to us. I think we even spoke for a year about Gravity Sketch, and finally, a few months ago, we were able to test the software with my team, and it was fantastic. It was great. We had at least a few weeks, if I remember, almost a month, working on our own project together and developing designs, generic car designs. I did a kind of like a EV talk because I think this is the next wave of transportation. I was doing, and I was blown away how intuitive the tool was. It didn't take that much time to really learn how to use a tool. It's much different when you're using a keyboard and a mouse, trying to create curves, trying to create surfaces. Whereas with the tools in Gravity Sketch, using the two controllers, it's very intuitive. And man, I fell in love right away, and my team as well. So here's a project just showing Fernando's process of what he did. And can you go to the next slide, Fernando? Thank you. And this is the result. So basically, from those initial ideas, he created the initial curves in Gravity Sketch, created the initial surfaces to capture his theme, and then put it in a kind of format to present the idea as a final solution or final presentation of this particular sculpture that he created. Of course, he also used other tools to help render some areas of the form and doing some studies. And that's what I think what's great about Gravity Sketch is that you can use other tools for presentation. For example, if you have to use some type of rendering software, it's very intuitive, very interactive with other tools. This I find very interesting. The Gravity Sketch has this kind of seamless integration that you can work with other tools in developing your ideas. Here is kind of a quick study, again, with color materials, playing with colors and graphics. Something that we do normally in our industry when we create a car, we do variations of colors because color and materials are quite important in the process of designing a car. So here we show you some solutions that we felt were kind of cool, and even the shape and the metallic finish going against the matte black gives this very cool and futuristic feel. Next. A little video just to show you the process, and I hope you enjoy it. Again, collaboration, disruption, and innovation is the three pillars that we work at NDLA. And as you can see, Fernando creates the wall of his sketches, has some inspiration images, and we are there with in this metaverse room, working in real time, refining the ideas together. This is something you can't get with any other software, working together in line or in time, and to be able to develop the ideas quickly. This is another thing I think about Gravity Sketch is how fast you can create your ideas and how fast you can make variations. This is a game changer, I feel, in the industry of design, where normally doing a lot of variation takes a lot of time. Where in Gravity Sketch, it's almost instant. And it was great collaborating on this quick project. And you can use a lot of the images from Gravity Sketch for presentation, as you see here.
Yeah.
And then next, we gave it to the model, and he made this fantastic animation. Again, it was just using the model that was created in Gravity Sketch and putting it in an environment and doing an animation that really fits the image of the product. This very futuristic speed shape form. You can say it's an autonomous vehicle, but again, fantastic tool for us to use. And it was a short project. I would say less than 5 days that we put this all together. And imagine if we were working on this one month, we would even make this project go beyond what we had at the moment. But thank you for the
Exactly.
time. And any questions? We're here to answer any of your questions. And thank you very much for your time for us to present our ideas. And our process is using Gravity Sketch.
Thank you so much, Fernando, John, and Gabriel. Yeah, it's truly amazing to see a project that you've done in 4 days be so complete.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what is it that you're thinking in terms of, I mean, you've already tested this workflow, right? And you're figuring out how to integrate it in what you do. How do you see this happening? How do you see kind of like the next steps for evolving your process?
Yeah, I think the next step for us is to be able to secure a room which is only for us, meaning that we have all the data and the design for us to be able to access. This is something we need to work on, I think, with you guys in regards to that, so that we have all the IP, the design, everything secured, and we can really work on a real project. And that's a next step in which we are working with your team to get together so that we can create this secure environment so that we can work on real projects. And once we do that, is I feel we are able to use Gravity Sketch in our everyday work. But what we wanted to also show is not only to you guys, but also to our own industry, that this is possible. And we need this because we're still in the post-pandemic, right? So going back to work is not 100%. And having the ability to be mobile and to be able to work together in Gravity Sketch is, again, I said, it's a game changer. We're there working together, we're talking. In other platforms like Zoom, Meet, or Teams, you don't have that intrinsic connection. You don't walk around the model. You have to show maybe you show an animation, maybe you show some sketches, but it doesn't have that perception that you're in the same room. So I think that's one of the benefits of Gravity Sketch, being in the same room. The speed of which you can develop many proposal is a game changer. I think that's very important, and also the tool being very, I would say, seamless. You can use other softwares with the tool to enhance the design, for example, or enhance the presentation. I just think that Gravity Sketch is that tool in which I am pushing very hard for our region, our studio here, to have it as a permanent tool to be able to develop on real projects. But again, I think having a secure place for us to work, like having a Nissan Design Studio within this metaverse that only we can access the data, it's going to allow us to really use it in our everyday work, in our everyday projects that we do here in South America.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Also, another point who is very important too is for visualization designers, because after you have the concept, you have access, like for example, a surface or even a topology of this model that you are thinking of. And the nice thing about this is straight from the Gravity Sketch software, we have the model on, like for example, a readable format like FBX, and we can import in on the majority of softwares who use it for visualization and have a nice result, because the surface is smooth and the high quality of the surface can allow that. So this is a fast way to have the model and to interact the model with an animation or rendering in other softwares.
I have some questions from the audience. How do you track your iterations?
I think Fernando can.
Fernando, you keep quiet. I think you, you can
Yeah,
answer.
Yeah, go for it, Fernando. Let's
I
give it
give
a
that.
go with your
Yeah.
mic.
Is it better? So it's like inside the software, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, like how do you track, all the different iterations that you do within Gravity Sketch?
Yeah, that's actually much easier than it looks in the video, because when you're there, basically you see the of course the remotes, the controllers, but like it's basically the controllers sketching over your model, right? So John is saying to me, hey, and we can hear, of course, talk with each other, and John is, hey Fernando, why don't you try this line, and then do a line, and then I can go over in at like the same point, the same time, and then just change the surface. So it's very quick, it's very easy. Like in the video, in the 2D, in the screen, we don't have the exact idea, but it's very easy, much easier than it looks like. Yeah.
Also, it's fast because we can take the model, Fernando's model, and we can make like 5 copies, and then each designer can work on that and do their variations. And I think that is a game changer as well. Is that you can have, and it's like a studio. And when you work in a car studio, you have like maybe 3 or 4 models, or even 10 models in a studio, and everybody's working on the model. So in a particular project, you're given the basic package, and the designer has a sketch. Everyone has their own table. They're working on the model together with the modeler. And here, like I said again, we can make variations of a particular design and have those iterations in that same room, like if you're in a studio, and each designer can work on that iteration and make his or her own variations of that. And I think that's something that's quite good. You can't do that in other softwares where you can have different iterations quickly. Again, being quick is the game changer here, and then be able to work together in this room and go by each other and look at each other's work. This is something that doesn't happen, fairly easy in other type of software. And another thing is you do have that feeling of working together. So if Fernando's working on his model, I can go over his model and then I can converse with him. I can say, hey, Fernando, look at your sketch. We can pull this line a little bit, further. We can tension the surface, and I can do that on his model. And that's normally what we do in the industry. You have the chief designer, you have the manager, you have your VP or SVP. They'll come by, they'll put a tape on the model. It really simulates that world of designing, especially in the car industry, where everybody's working together on a particular product, a car, and be able to put their lines, their suggestions, and be able to evaluate in all perspective. So for me, this is also a game changer. So having the possibility of creating variations, and be able to even put those variations in different layers. So if you don't want to see some iteration, you just put it in ghost mode, right? Or you don't see it. But then when you want to see it again, you just put the layer to view, and you're able to see the iteration. So that's how we were using it while we were training with Gravity Sketch. With like, I put a bunch of layers and do different iterations, and then sometimes I would ghost it out so that I can see some key lines. So hopefully I answered. Hopefully we answered the questions correctly.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's a change of perception of what, like how to track iterations, right? Because it's so immediate and so like real time that the mental model changes in a way. It's not kind of like the old way of making sure that you have, version after version after version saved, because sometimes you have all of the versions within the same room, right? Within the same virtual studio. All right, there's a question here. Did you have the Gravity Sketch sub-D model rebuilt into Modo, Cinema 4D, 3ds before sending to a Viz software like VRED?
No, no, directly from Gravity Sketch. So basically, I picked the FBX file. The software that I do the animation was Unreal Engine 5, like for example, and I imported to Unreal Engine 5 and tweak the options that we have to not convert to be like more to have the same characteristics of the surface that we have made on Gravity Sketch, and it's all done. All layers are there. You put the materials on the right layers, is separated nicely, and you have a nice model to work directly from Gravity Sketch. It's incredible.
Seamless integration, that's the other thing that we got out of that, is that again, be able to use other software and just taking the model that you just developed in Gravity Sketch, don't need to do conversions or any modification, where we do have some issues in the past with those kind of softwares working together. We have to send a data to a supplier, and then they say, oh, I don't have the software, can you change it to this? It just creates more work than needed. And we felt with Gravity Sketch, like this project we did, there was none of that. It was just take that model, put it in Unreal Engine 5, and Gabriel was able to do his magic. And that, I think, it's also a big game changer using Gravity Sketch.
Okay, this one is interesting. How much do you guys embrace traditional portfolio versus a portfolio having few projects done using Gravity Sketch for job requirements, like for exterior or interior design?
Yeah, very good question. For me, what is important is the ideas. If you can do it with paper and pencil and the ideas are fantastic and it's just black and white, that's great. If you can do it with Gravity Sketch, that's even better, right? So but what's very important, I think, for young designers now is to have that 3D modeling experience. Why? Is because when you do two-dimensional sketching and you do 3D modeling, you start to learn more about your abilities as a designer to understand three-dimensionality. When I started as a young designer, I was more graphic oriented because I love graphic design. And my 2D sketches were nice, but I really didn't really evolve the shape so much, but it just felt nice. And then when I started to develop my 3D skills, I started to connect the importance of understanding three dimensionality, proportion, graphics, for example. And for me, no matter how you create your portfolio, it's not the importance of whether it's analog or digital, it's the idea. But it's also important to have that 3D experience in your portfolio to show that you can translate your ideas from your imagination to a piece of paper and into a 3D shape, whether it's a model in real life or if it's a 3D model in the digital world. And then that 3D model really representing your idea is what's going to be very important. So for me, as the chief designer here, when I'm looking at portfolios, I really dive into the ideas and how well that student or the designer are able to take from their concept images, their creation of the sketches, and the final product. That kind of transition from initial ideas to the final model is very important for me to see how that designer works. For me, that's more important than whether they do it in 3D or in analog.
Couldn't agree more. It's all about like being able to express what you have in your head. That's it, right? Being able to communicate.
And that's another thing that I forgot to mention, Danielle, is that with Gravity Sketch and with these new innovation of tools that you have, what I see is the liberation of creativity. And why do I say that? I've been in the industry for like 30 plus years and going from education to entering the business of designing and working in the industry quite long. And I've seen presentation where if you sketch really well, you get more likely to be selected. This is something we were taught at the very. If you can sketch really well on 2D and present on the wall, your sketch is going to get more selected than the ones that don't look really nice. What I see now in the metaverse is there are young designers. Okay, they can't sketch very well, but they're very three-dimensional oriented. They can create these fantastic design proposal. They're able to work in 3D, right? And be able to. It's amazing the amount of um, young designers being able to master 3D and present their ideas. So what I felt with Gravity Sketches, a liberation of our creativity, especially designers who don't really sketch very well, but they can really manage the 3D shape. They can see it in their mind. They can create it with the software and do some amazing designs that blows me away. And so I think that's one thing is the liberation of our creativity using these type of innovation software like Gravity Sketch.
Yeah, 100%. Because I mean, ultimately, we're 3D humans in a 3D world designing 3D objects, right? Like the ideas are 3D already in here. The problem has been that we didn't really have the technologies to actually express them in 3D, right? Now we're starting to have them, which is really exciting. Cool. All right. I want to invite Michael Fritz as a guest Q&A person. So, Michael, can you come to stage? While he's joining, there's a question regarding the secure room comment. So you mentioned being able to create a secure room and working with Gravity Sketch team to make that a reality. So yeah, like for those of you that know Colab, so in Colab you have your one room that you have available as an independent user. If you have the enterprise version, you can have multiple different rooms. All of those rooms are very much controlled by the organization, so you can always kind of like make sure who's in, who's out, and so on. So like that's kind of like the process that John and his team is working with Gravity Sketch to make sure that they're getting. Hey Michael, how's it going?
Good. Great.
Hey, Michael,
Hey
nice to
guys,
meet you.
nice to meet you as well.
So do you have any questions for the team?
Yeah, in a sec. Nice presentation. I'm so glad to see other studios picking all this up. And I'm so glad that you guys present from Gravity Sketch. I tend to like when I take it out of Gravity Sketch and polish it, but I like that you guys are polishing it in Gravity Sketch and making that work. I really liked that you guys did the sketch. You guys mentioned passing sketches on. Like you start one Gravity Sketch, you pass it to the next guy. And that's something we did in school where you start a sketch and then you pass it to the next one. that was one of the most fun activities I ever did. I'm so happy you guys do that. Do you guys have any other games? Because I'm trying to get my studio into using Gravity. I think that would be a really cool way to get them in there. Do you guys have any other like really fun games or like activities you do with Gravity?
In terms of fun games, no, but what we do is we just create a project that's just fun and free, right? So Fernando was given the task, okay, Fernando, you need to create some cool shape. And how you do it, just do it the way, do your magic, that's what we say. And then when we got together, and it was great because we can see the sketches on the wall, on the virtual wall, and then we can see his initial model. And it was just fun pulling and sketching, doing rough sketches on the model and pulling. And it was like a very collaborative experience where he was pulling some shapes and stuff. I said, "Wow, that's cool." That's the fun aspect of working together, where we're really looking to achieve the goal, which is this beautiful sculpture. And we were working, and you saw the video. We're working together, and that was a fun project for sure to be able to create this collaborative experience. In terms of games, we don't really do a lot of games in Metaverse. Maybe that's something we can do. Maybe we can try that for sure. But what we wanted to do was to really focus on the creativity aspect and be able to translate that creativity into this 3D shape, in the speed form, we would say, right? And make it into a sort of a vehicle that can be understandable as a product. So yeah, in that case, we had a lot of fun doing that project. It was so quick because a lot of projects, when you spend too much time, it becomes, depends. It can be redundant and oh my god, again. But here it was such a quick exercise, and it's something that actually Fernando mentioned, right? Fernando, that hey, we should do this more often. Do some of these quick studies and see what kind of inspiration we can get from that, and then apply it into a real project.
Mhm.
And that's something that we discussed for sure.
So you guys are creating your own inspiration from Gravity.
Exactly.
Do you guys ever take inspiration from like the new Z and try and feed it in? Like, do you try to take that new, really simplified form language of the new Z and like feed it into some of your models, or does it go the other way?
No, big question. I think as designers, we are always having images in our brain, in our subconscious mind. So when you put a line in there, there might be some nuances that you see in the new Z. Like for example, this kind of dropping fender line. You saw it in the shape, right? So there's some of that Nissan DNA that we are putting in there, but actually elaborating it and putting it into more of a, I would say, more futuristic format. But yeah, I would say yes. Sometimes we do think about our brand and we think about some of the details that we can apply not only into a speed form but also in other type of segments of cars.
Do you try to have one form language for all of Nissan, or are you trying to separate it all?
No, I think what we try to do is explore the possibilities within our design DNA, you would say,
Okay.
and interpret that in different ways. We are not like a cookie cutter type of design organization. There are a set of, I would say, mantras that we have, our timeless future, Japanese design, and also here in South America, our emotional geometry design that we call it. And the designers have the freedom to interpret that, and in a way, when you do that, you have the possibility of creating something even better or something even newer in the end.
True, true. One more question. So with Polaris, I use the volume tool a lot because it really creates instant, off-road form languages. It almost looks kind of Gundam-esque. But is there a tool that creates like instant Nissan form language? Like, is it all? Do you guys use the ribbon tool or the just the subd tool? Like, which tool is like your favorite for creating like instant Nissan shape? I guess.
Well, I can say I came from Alias. I like for years creating surface, and for me, when I started doing Gravity Sketch, it was like it blew my mind a little bit because I still have the same kind of process. Okay, so I started by a surface, and then I started just pull it out, and uh, when I'm doing that on the Gravity Sketch on the software, like for me, it's much better than the volume because we are as car designers, like we tend to see a surface and try to like really clean it out. And okay, I have this surface here. It's just a plane. What can come out from that? If you look like the project, the farm study that we did, it's basically that. It doesn't have wheels. It's just a plane, and then I started to pull it out. So for me, that's the best way yet as a car designer. Like, and in Gravity Sketch was like so much better because I could really understand the product, the form, and the whole like thing, and like see and mirrored already, and go inside, go outside, just flip it. So I started always like thinking as a surface instead of a volume. But I can see the volume more maybe as a sketch too, like a almost like shading or brushing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for me, the best is still the starting like that, like a surface, and then I start to pull it out.
Cool. Have any of you guys tried to copy like the hairy Viscom technique where you do a car sketch that has like over 1,000 lines? Have you ever tried to like just do that hairball look in Gravity?
Like shadings, right? Like
yeah.
layers.
Just with
I
lines.
should try that. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
nice.
really sketch, right?
Just try and break the program. I dare you.
This is really nice.
Yeah, I saw some demonstration from one of you guys of doing a sketch that was actually using the forms, but it looked like a sketch. That blew my mind away. I was like, wow. It's like, wow, I can do that. I can do this kind of stuff. And so it inspired me to practice a little bit more as well to try to find a technique, I would say, or a style. And that's another thing is that you can really create your identity using the tool and figuring out how to create your own style, I would say. And so you can identify being different from other designers. That's something I think like with Alias, you don't have that. You don't have this. Everything looks the same
Yeah,
in a way. So
it's true. With transportation designers, style is very important to us for some reason. So
exactly.
I know. Just one more question. Now I thought of it. When you guys are hiring people, how many new hirees know Gravity Sketch already?
At the moment, since I've been looking at work, none actually. Surprising.
And is that a
Um,
Brazil thing, or is that just are you guys looking internationally?
well, in Brazil, in the last 4.5 years I've been here, I haven't really crossed any designer or students using Gravity Sketch. I think maybe we're the first kind of studio really experimenting with Gravity Sketch, and I've been kind of preaching it to other colleagues in other studios. Hey, you guys got to try this out. This is a game changer. And also in San Diego, I'm originally from the San Diego studio, and since I was there, I didn't meet any students who have used Gravity Sketch. But I've seen some projects now that Gravity Sketch is being used in the schools, and I think that's fantastic. And I think from now on, I think there's going to be probably more students or even professionals showing their work using Gravity Sketch.